University of Mississippi. Now, a couple of months ago, I gave the biggest hee-haw to former governor of Mississippi, Phil Bryant, and Bret Favre, because at the time, never-before-seen text messages showed that Phil Bryant was trying to shepherd a proposal to use welfare funds on the construction of a new volleyball stadium for retired NFL player Bret Favre, a project prosecutors have called a scheme to defraud the government. You know why they called it that? Because it is. All right? Now, this is just a centerpiece in a bigger criminal scandal where prominent officials misspent or stole millions in welfare funds intended for the poor and disenfranchised residents of Mississippi, a state that has the highest rate of poverty in America, okay? If you didn't know, the then governor even guided Bret Favre on how to write a funding proposal so that it could be accepted by the Mississippi Department of Human Services. And this is after Governor Bryant fired former welfare agency director John Davis for suspected fraud. You get rid of the welfare agency director for suspected fraud only to turn around and commit fraud yourself. The text messages show that Governor Bryant, Bret Favre, and others worked together to channel at least $5 million of the state's welfare funds to build a new volleyball stadium at the University of Southern Mississippi, where Bret Favre's daughter played the sport. Now, the messages also showed that Favre received a separate $1.1 million welfare contract, to promote the program. Well, he got $1.1 million of the welfare money to promote the program, okay? He was supposed to give some speeches that he never made. Now, according to reports, Favre has since paid back the $1.1 million. He was paid for speeches and appearances. He did that back in 2001, but there's still a sticking point over about $228,000 in interest that is still outstanding. And I don't know if he will be facing any criminal charges, but he's lost a lot of business ventures and endorsement deals. Odyssey Health and Hallow are two of the endorsement deals he lost. And 6 people have been charged with wrongdoing, and 5 have pled guilty. The people are John Davis, Nancy New, Zach New, Ann McGrew, Brett DiBiase, okay? And the Mississippi Department of Human Services brought a civil lawsuit against more than 35 people and entities, including Bret Favre and the Mississippi Community Education Center, to recover some of that money. I'm just getting y'all up to speed before I tell you why the University of Mississippi is getting the biggest hee-haw today, because I see the narrative, okay, this talking point that everyone, everybody's on Kyrie, but nobody's talking about what's going on with Bret Favre. It's because we're not talking about Bret Favre. Okay, at what point will y'all realize that traditional media is more often than not reacting to what everybody is talking about online? So if they see y'all talking and debating about Kyrie Irving online, that's what they take to TV and everywhere else, because all the information you want on the Bret Favre Mississippi scandal is available. I gave them donkey today a few months ago. Did you know Bret Favre paid the $1.1 million back? Did you know Bret Favre lost business ventures and endorsement deals? Did you know 6 people have faced criminal charges and 5 pled guilty? Did you know? Huh? Well, if you know, spread the word. Now, why is the University of Mississippi getting the biggest hee-haw today? Because if you got $5 million, money intended for the state's poorest, all right, and that money was used to build a volleyball stadium, you would think the University of Mississippi would want to figure out how to return the $5 million in welfare funds. You would think, right? But the school has refused to do so. Instead, they offered this past week to allow, listen to what I'm about to tell you, to allow the welfare department to utilize space on campus to provide programming to the underserved community. Now, if that sounds like some BS, it's because it is. All right, the Department of Human Services released a statement saying that kind of arrangement would be against the federal laws that govern the funds used. Let me read you some technical jargon. As noted in prior audits, use of temporary assistance for needy families funds for the construction of brick and mortar building projects have never been authorized by law, and the Mississippi Department of Human Services cannot accept the University of Mississippi's offer to utilize the building constructed with temporary assistance for needy families in lieu of repayment of the funds, because we believe it to be a continued violation of the law, end quote. Imagine somebody taking money that's intended for you and then offering you a crumb of it. The money was literally for the poor and needy. Y'all used it for a volleyball stadium and got the nerve to offer to utilize the space. Utilize the space? Nah, bruh. Run me my check, okay? And the volleyball stadium is not included in the Department of Health and Human Services civil lawsuit against 38 individuals or organizations in an attempt to get back the $24 million in misappropriated welfare funds. But the key word is for now. Because as far as I'm concerned, everyone is on BS. And to everyone involved in Mississippi, Ain't no good gonna come to you until you do right by the poor and needy in Mississippi. I'm pointing my silly fingers at you right now, and I want you to remember Proverbs 22:22. Do not exploit the poor because they are poor. Or do you want to hear from the New Living Translation? Don't rob the poor just because you can. God told me to tell y'all that, or y'all gonna find out the hard way. Please let Remy Ma give the University of Mississippi the biggest hee-haw.
Hee-haw, hee-haw. You stupid motherfucker. Are you dumb?
Can you imagine? You get $5 million. $5 million that's supposed to go to the poor and needy. $5 million in welfare funds. You build this volleyball stadium, and instead of coming up with a plan to give the money back, you offer to utilize your space to provide programming to the underserved community. That's not how that should work. No.